Hello and welcome. It has been a busy Thursday at Abosokai as a joint police and military task force has been embarking on some decongestion exercise there. We shall give you details on that. But to other developing story, British Airways has reverted to Heathrow Airport for its Accra-London-Accra flights for now. Now, sources close to Joy Business say that the decision was due to a drop in traffic levels for winter as the UK continues to have quarantines and red lights. In this regard, British Airways had to maintain a certain level of service at the Heathrow Airport to keep the slots. The intent to revert to Heathrow is expected to be finalized by July this year, as that is the winter slots deadline. In January 2021, Ghana government rejected the decision by British Airways to switch the London-Accra-London route from Heathrow to Gatwick Airport. In a memo, it said the airline had already made its decision known without much explanation. According to the government, British Airways went ahead with the move without any consultation. Well, let's connect with Sean Mendes, an aviation expert via Zoom, as we put this all into perspective. Sean, we're grateful that you joined us. Break it all down for us. What exactly should prospective travelers take from this particular story?
Thanks for having me again, Charles. I think the important thing for travelers right now, especially if you're booked on a British Airways flight, is to constantly check your booking, because there is a lot of changes that are happening. The EU and the UK are constantly reviewing their travel policies during COVID times, and I think British Airways is reacting to that by having to move flights between Heathrow and Gatwick Airport accordingly. As far as Ghanaian travelers to the UK go, if you are going to the UK, I think if you're terminating in London, whether you're flying to Heathrow or Gatwick is less important. But if you have onward connecting flights, say onwards to the US or Canada or Europe, obviously there are far more connections available for you at Heathrow. And I think this is something that British Airways is gambling on a bit, that the current US restrictions on people transiting via the UK will be lifted by the winter, allowing them to get more traffic, connecting traffic through Heathrow. And also, as you mentioned, there is a slot requirement. Usually the slot requirement is that airlines must fly a minimum of 80% of a given slot in order to maintain the rights to fly that slot the next year. This has been constantly under review because of COVID and forced cancellations. Last year, it was waived completely, that even if an airline did not fly, they were still allowed to maintain the rights to that slot. That's been reduced now to 50% requirement, but that still means that airlines have to fly 50% of their schedule. And that's a big reason, again, why British Airways needs to maintain more flights at London Heathrow rather than at London Gatwick, which is less slot constrained. And, Accra being a market where they have potential connecting traffic may be something that they choose to maintain at Heathrow as a result.
Great, but do we foresee us going back to the Gatwick Airport? If so, when? I mean, do you foresee British Airways going back to Gatwick Airport being the main route? If so, when?
Well, I think if they go ahead and switch to Heathrow in October, as you know, it seems that they are likely to do right now, that is definitely going to be in place till the end of March. The slots and schedules are filed twice a year. So for the summer schedule, which is from March to October, and then the winter schedule, which is from October to March. So if they're going ahead with switching back to Heathrow for October, that will remain in place till March and probably will be reviewed after that. Now, what will likely cause that? I think the answer is going to be how United and Delta are performing with their non-stop flights between Ghana and the US. The US is the huge connection market for passengers on British Airways, traveling out of Accra. And if they find that United and Delta and more passengers are flying those airlines non-stop to the US, they may again need to review whether Gatwick makes more sense or Heathrow. So if passengers want to see the flights maintained at Heathrow, they probably need to fly British Airways rather than non-stop to the US if that's what their desires are.
I believe that as an expert, you may have had some correspondence with, stakeholders, passengers, and those who matter within the aviation space. What exactly are they telling you, considering the switch, along these two airports by British Airways?
Well, I think the general consensus is that people who are flying just between London and Accra actually find Gatwick slightly more convenient. And that's because the public transportation at Gatwick is a lot cheaper. And Gatwick is connected to the main national rail network, which means that you can fly into Gatwick and then catch a train from Gatwick directly to pretty much anywhere in England. While at Heathrow, it's still off on the Heathrow Express Spur line, which is more expensive, and you need to then change trains at Paddington to be able to get elsewhere. But, again, a lot of people who fly British Airways, in fact, I believe it's 46% of the passengers who fly British Airways from Accra connect onwards at London. And, there's some are just going as far as Manchester, connecting at Heathrow, some are going to New York, some are going to Tokyo, and all over the world. And for those kind of connections, Heathrow is far and away better. In fact, Heathrow is probably the best connected airport in the world for connecting traffic. So as far as that goes, I think, there is a split in passenger opinions and in corporate opinions as well as to which one makes more sense. But the US market and how the US policy goes, I think, is going to drive most of the decisions as far as British Airways is concerned, whether the flights remain at Heathrow or whether they go back to Gatwick, probably now for next year's summer.
Sean, we're so grateful for your analysis. As an aviation expert helping us understand, puts to close terms the matter of British Airways switching once again from from Gatwick actually to Heathrow Airport. We shall follow this up for updates as and when we do have them.